So, hi everyone, I think we are live. Good afternoon, and thank you for attending this parallel session in Area 1, so on increasing climate ambition and cross-sectoral challenges. So I will be hosting this session. My name is Nicolas Fev, together with colleagues from the Commission, from DG Research Innovation, and from the Executive Agency EASME. So we'll present to you in this session two different topics, and this area 1 so reflects the long-term vision for climate neutrality set out in the Green Deal, in the European Green Deal, and in the Clean Planet for All communication. So it addresses both research innovation needs for climate mitigation and adaptation. The ambition of Area 1 core topics is therefore to accelerate environmental, social, and economic transformation that are required for climate resilience in the EU through delivering high-impact, short-term perspective action in the key sectors of societies, ranging from technical innovation to change in citizen lifestyle and behavior. So I will have with me the different colleagues. So Pablo Perez-Ilana, Sasa Zavadla, Onelika Andrade, Thomas Visikas, and Christophe Couda. I hope you can all see the next slide. So the session will last an hour and a half. So with first the presentation of topic 1, so 1.1, so preventing and fighting extreme wildfires with the integration and demonstration of innovative means. Then we will have a short session break, and we will resume with the presentation of topic 1.3 on climate resilient innovation package for EU regions. So let's start now with the first topic on wildfires, so preventing and fighting extreme wildfires, so with the integration and demonstration of innovative means that I will be introducing to you together with my colleague Pablo. So the Green Deal explicitly calls to reduce the incidence and extent of forest fires and also boost the ability to predict and manage environmental disasters. These large-scale and more intense wildfires are actually occurring more and more in Europe. So more and more EU citizens suffer from the direct and indirect impacts from wildfire every year. From the year 2017 to last year, so hundreds of people have been affected by wildfires. Every year, we account for over 2 billion euros of economic damages, and also half a million hectares of forest is burned every year, including Natura 2000 areas. And this is happening not only in Southern Europe, but also more increasingly in Central, Eastern, and Northern Europe. So climate change and also certain forest practices, ecosystem degradation, rural depopulation, so all increase the depth and the severity of wildfires in the EU. Climate change is predicted to increase also the spatial extent of this wildfire in Europe, with longer seasons, more frequent fires also in higher latitudes, and the number of people also living near wildland and exposed to high to extreme fire danger levels for at least 10 days per year, so would grow by 15 million with a 3-degree warming scenario. So better management of wildfire risk does not only imply reducing the extraordinary socioeconomic impacts in terms of loss of human lives, health, infrastructure, and economic activity, but also these wildfires have also serious ecological impacts in terms of soil degradation, water scarcity, and biodiversity loss. Wildfires, it's also important to remind that wildfires are also among the first contributors to climate change, with up to 20% of greenhouse gas emission per year. Also, the large area burnt cannot absorb so much CO2 any longer, so reducing also the climate mitigation potential of carbon sinks. Finally, so these large wildfires also degrade air quality through the direct emissions of toxic pollutants, affecting not only the health of local residents and firefighters who are fighting those wildfires, but also population living in regions far away. So the objective of this call is therefore to accelerate research innovation, also integrate, adapt, and demonstrate holistic solutions that are ready to be upscaled and deployed at multiple levels, so from local to international. This will include, of course, the demonstration for the high impact aspect of the call, so making also the best use of existing data, technologies, and services. So here we describe the general approach of this call, which starts with the research aspect, the demonstration and deployment of these innovative means and methods. Those are both for from prevention, preparedness, and response. This will also integrate different environmental, climate, health, and safety, security, cultural, and socioeconomic aspects. This approach also seeks to benefit proactive governance and take stock and increase awareness and preparedness towards wildfire risk in Europe. And also, it will capitalize and will place citizen and local authorities, as well as the forestry insurance sectors, really at the center. Ultimately, so the action from this call will enable tailored and effective solutions that are co-designed with the end users and demonstrated in pilot sites across various European contexts. Here in this diagram is just to remind you or to picture you in another way the approach to deliver high impact activities. Here we picture it using all the different steps of the wildfire risk management process. So from prevention, preparedness, response, looking at the impacts towards restoration and adaptation. There are several types of activities that we will describe later on. We'll come back to these activities more in detail when describing the scope of the topic. But this integrated view is very essential in this call, as this call will address multiple sectors, looking from biomass management to emergency management, looking at impacts on ecosystem, health, climate, also harvesting, research innovation, delivering to urban and land planning. In terms of expected impacts, this call has several actually measurable targets to be achieved by 2030 in terms of fatalities, in terms of reduction in emissions, in the number of ignition, also in the loss of infrastructure, also looking at how many houses are insured from wildfire risk, and also some more biodiversity related targets, looking at the protection, preservation of Natura 2000 areas. Also, we expect that this call will trigger further uptake in national climate change adaptation, also in disaster risk reduction strategies across Europe, that it will contribute to the Union Civil Protection Mechanism, the Emergency Response Coordination Centers, as well as different knowledge exchange platforms from the Commission, but also internationally. So using the best of the different services available, including Copernicus services such as the European Forest Fire Information Service, and also in terms of international collaboration, Pablo will mention later on a few aspects that this call actually will leverage. So this call is articulated around two separate subtopics. So the proposal are invited to address one of the two subtopics. The first subtopic is on innovation action that aim to speed up the pan-European adaptation process to extreme wildfires. This will be done, as I mentioned before, by advancing and applying research innovation into demonstration pilot sites. The contribution for this innovation action is between 15 and 20 million per action. The overall budget for this is 72 million euros. For the subtopic 2, it will materialize as a coordinated and support action that will ensure not only the networking, but also that the demonstration of these innovative integrated approaches fulfill the expected impacts. And the indicative budget for this is between 2 and 3 million euros per action. So then there will be only one CSA awarded. So as I mentioned before, so now we will discuss a bit more like the scope of the topic. So we for better understanding, so we splitted the different phase of fire management into 3 phases. So ABC, so prevention and preparedness, detection and response, and restoration and adaptation. So we encourage the applicants actually to consider and focus on a subset of activities, so within each phase. But the 3 phase, it's important that the proposal cover all the fire management phase. So for this first one, for example, here we listed some of the activities that might be considered. For example, we mentioned support to the integration of socioeconomic and environmental information. There is a lack actually of information in terms of wildfire causes and impacts, for example, on health from wildfires, so in existing EU database. So this also might support further integration in that respect. Also improving fire and landscape management for both public and private lands. Enhancing access to official fire danger index ratings and warnings, together with in cooperation with EU initiatives, notably from EFIS, as I mentioned before. Also building across Europe a common culture on risk prevention and preparedness, so that people are made aware of the risk and know actually how to react. Integrating fire safety knowledge and engineering, so to support the design, construction, and management of fire-resilient buildings and infrastructure, and also improving early warning tools by integrating forest stand, biogeographical data in forecasting models. In the detection and response part, lots of the activities might consider, for example, stimulating private investment, so for the retrofitting, developing of new technologies. Also emphasis on space and higher means, so for the better detection, targeting and extinction of fires. This may include pseudo-satellites, drones, and different iron means for night operation, for example. Firefighters also will need also better equipment, so also and better decision support system tools for better location, route management, patrolling. Also, I mentioned the interaction with citizens at risk. So how to demonstrate and implement better warnings for citizens. Also considering the evacuation phase and confinement message that might be transmitted to citizens. And this action also could consider emergency responder equipment, so the development of personal protection, ICT support, and robotics. And we also included training as well through the use of reality simulators, for example, for the air fleet. The last phase, as I mentioned, is on restoration and adaptation. So what to do after a fire occurs in terms of demonstrating structural measures. So for the treatment of the fuels that have been burned, that would aim at more resilient wild and urban interfaces. The action also should look at the demonstration of post-fire ecosystem restoration solutions, how to better integrate fire ecology principle into the post-fire restoration. The evaluation also and upscaling of this ecosystem-based restoration approach in different biogeographical contexts is also key in that respect. We also insist in this phase on the public and private cooperation mechanisms, so between different actors involved in the forestry sector, involved in the in urban land planning, and finally on the promotion of governance systems for restoration and adaptation. So that means through the involvement, coordination, and cooperation of different actors and sectors. So the second topic, second subtopic is so the coordinated and support action. So these activities will be focused on the clustering and cooperation among the projects, among the innovation action that will be financed under the subtopic 1. But also on the clustering with other actions so funded under Horizon 2020, the cohesion and civil protection funds. Of course, there will be the need for facilitation for the integration of all the different activities in the different fire management phase. So that's why this coordinated and support action will have a pivotal role in that respect. And we also looked at here at the engagement with citizens, with local communities, forest owners, the forest-based industries, nature conservation organization, and finally, but not least, so insurance, social infrastructure sectors. Also in terms of dissemination, so this coordinated and support action will also facilitate the dissemination of the resource, the exchange of best practices, so among the different innovation action, and to develop recommendations, so for better wildfire prevention and preparedness across the EU. So that aims to develop a better readiness of also the response units, so for cross-border action, also in line with the Union Civil Protection Mechanism framework and its main instrument, so the ERCC, the European Research Coordination Center. So now I will hand over to my colleague Pablo for the presentation of the synergies, so with other relevant initiatives and research programs. Floor is yours, Pablo.
Thank you very much, Nicolas, and good afternoon, everybody. I will just provide some comments on aspects that are relevant for all the subtopic actions, so both for the innovation actions and also for the cohesion support actions. And the first point is we want to make clear, of course, we don't want to reinvent the wheel, and we don't want that the results end up on the shelf. We want that the results end up on the field and to facilitate the uptake of these results. You've seen already in the introduction of the Green Deal call how important it is to accelerate and to have solutions deployed. So we are on that track. So the first message would be maybe obvious, but we have to go beyond the state of the art, at least as long as EU activities are concerned. So we have previous framework programs, even in Horizon 2020, a number of projects related to wildfires or to technologies that can serve to that, but also in other programs like COST, activities in the Joint Research Center, activities under the Director General of Environment, or I would call program LIFE, civil protection under the umbrella of colleagues of the service ECHO. So there are a lot of activities, a lot of projects, and the project should consider and build upon this. And it's very useful to have a look at the document Projects for Policy, P4P, on forest fires that Nicolas Febre actually collected and edited together with other colleagues. And you have there not only a lot of background, but also a lot of references to all those projects with all the information to access their activities. And so strongly recommended. Another important point, of course, is to cooperate not only with past projects, but also with ongoing projects, and even with upcoming projects of recent related calls. I've seen there was a question on the chat, and we'll refer to this later on the questions and answer. Nicola can elaborate on the, let's say, the complementarity with the most recent call related to fire management. Very important as well, as you see, we want the results to be taken up. So very important to engage international, national, and EU agencies. Just to give you an example, my background is aviation, actually. So for aerial means, of course, safety is very, very important. And there, the European Union Aviation Safety Agency can have a role to play. And the colleagues in this agency are also available to contact the proposers. And that's an example of engagement. But the same happens with the other EU agencies that are relevant for this type of project. So to facilitate the later on uptake, for instance, if there are regulatory barriers or so on. And of course, very, very, very important to involve end users from the different states. These range from forest owners, forest-based industry actors, different environmental or nature management organizations, of course, firefighters, first responders, and also the local and regional authorities. So this emphasis of end users is crucial, especially taking into account that we are looking forward to pilot sites. So to be deployed in pilot sites, we need also in many cases this engagement of all these end users. And I would like also to highlight the opportunity to use other EU initiatives and services, for instance, in the case of space services. You may know there are two major flagships in the European Union space activities. One is Galileo and another is Copernicus. And both are up and running. These are world-class services, are open and are free of charge. So nothing should prevent the proposals to make the best use of them. Just a word on Galileo. It's about navigation, but it also provides timing, positioning. This is crucial in terms of location of people, but also of equipment, of vehicles of different types, from aerial vehicles to ground vehicles. It's also very important for georeferencing incident data and maps. So you are encouraged to use Galileo and, let's say, EGNOS, which is also part of the family of the navigation, European Global Navigation Satellite Services. You have the link for all kind of information, and the colleagues in Galileo will be more than happy to also facilitate contacts. Regarding Copernicus, we are talking, of course, here about observation. It's based on a unique constellation of satellites, providing highly accurate, timely, and accessible information into 6 specific services. I will not go into the details of the services, but just to name a few. Of course, the emergency management services, the land service, as you can imagine, for the land cover, the vegetation cover is very important, the atmospheric services, and not to forget also there's even the security services that go beyond the EU. I'm glad to see among the participants a number of you that are actually actively involved in some of these services. Why? Because wildfires preventing and fighting requires in many cases near real-time data on the affected region regarding temperature, regarding meteorology. Regarding temperature, by the way, I put this graph here, which is just for last month, and it's very interesting to see the increase, the anomaly, let's say, above the average. You see, for instance, in Northern Europe, in Siberia, but also in parts of Canada or even in parts of United States. And this brings me actually to the next and last slide, because when we are talking about wildfires, this is not just an European issue, it's actually a global issue. So we are encouraging international cooperation for all the subtopic actions, to leverage the knowledge, resources, best practices, in a way also to decrease risks, because we had experience in other international cooperation programs that even if a priori you could say, okay, a larger international program may have a risk of management, but in reality, when you have more capacities, you also can cope better with any unforeseen event where some partners may have some shortcomings in resources that can be complemented by other partners in the EU or beyond. And of course, to increase the impact worldwide. So that's why you see in the text, multilateral international cooperation is encouraged. So this is in general, and in particular, we mention a number of countries like United States, of course, obvious to see what is going on already in the West Coast, from California to Washington, Canada, Australia, and you remember well also the major issues there. Russia this summer, also in Siberia, quite substantial issues. We put also Japan and Brazil, and we add, of course, South America, Indonesia, and South Africa as other examples of areas. Just to mention, in this list of countries from United States down up to Brazil, these countries can participate, but a priori cannot receive EU funding. So those participants can bring their resources from their different agencies or their own resources. We don't ask from where their resources are coming from, as long as they commit to work together with the European partners along the goals. So we had good experiences in our domains. As I said, coming from a vision there, we have had a lot of very successful international cooperation, even multilateral cooperation, and we think that in this domain will be also a major added value for all parties. And with this, I think I finished for the time being, and I pass the floor to Nicolas for the questions and answers. Thank you.
Thank you, Pablo, and thank you for this presentation. So we have been moderating together with my colleagues, so the chat and as well as the Q&A. So feel free to ask a question in writing, so in the Q&A or in the chat. So together with my colleague Christophe Coudin from EASME. Hi, Christophe. So we'll attempt to address your questions. So we already saw some of them were already answered. So we'll do our best to share the presentation with the slides. So through the RNI website, RNI Days website, and so you won't need to download them. And also there will be a recording of the event, so that will be accessible later on. So also in terms of more specific questions, so there were a question related to how the European Commission will ensure that the coordinated support actions will integrate itself in the funded innovation action. So if you want, Thomas and Christophe, to start answering this one.
Hello, I will kick off the Q&A from my side. So actually, it is written in the topic text that the CSA should contribute to the Innovation Action Project, but at the same time, we cannot, as a funding agency or as European Commission, influence in evaluation in any way, meaning that every proposal will be assessed separately. So if the applicants of the CSA, but also of the Innovation Action, suggest that they will collaborate with a specific proposal, it does not mean that they can influence the evaluation of the different budget lines. So the selection of one CSA cannot influence the selection of the Innovation Action and vice versa. What we would like to suggest, of course, in any case, is that each project leaves room for collaboration with the other selected proposal and allows flexibility for clustering events, synergies, and we will also encourage this. We cannot ensure it. We cannot enforce it, but we will strongly encourage it through the monitoring of the project.
And if I may complement, I think it's written in the call text actually that the innovation actions, they should indeed allocate specific resources to engage with the CSA and for clustering and partnering activities with the other actions. So it has already to be in the proposals, some ideas from the consortium.
Thank you, Christophe and Thomas. I will move to the next question, actually, which concerned so actually how this topic, so in this new Green Deal call area, so is actually complementary or overlapping. So with another topic that was published in the last programming period of Horizon 2020, also on forest fire risk reduction. So I actually can take this one directly. So as you know, certainly, so the wildfire topics, so the topic in Horizon 2020, the CLA 15, it's a research innovation action, so which has a different scope from this one. Of course, it's also about improving forest fire risk management in Europe, but the focus of this research innovation action is actually to develop an integrated fire management strategy. So there is much more research associated to that in terms of developing new methodologies, and rather than the focus of this green topic is really on the demonstration aspect. So this is to deliver high impact as all actually the topic in the Green Deal call. So that's why the two are very complementary. So we actually expect the proposal from the that will address this Green Deal call on forest fires to also work jointly and join forces with the successful proposal from the CLA 15. Then about the duration of the innovation action, I don't know if Pablo or Christophe, you want to take this one?
Maybe on the duration, you know, there is no prescription. So the applicants, they should write, they should think of the relevant duration for the level of activity that is planned, actually. Yeah.
And also there were two questions related to the complementarity of the different activities. So from the different phases of that are described, so ABC. So whether these activities should be, whether the proposal should address all for each phase focus on only one bullet point, or that if they consider, for example, the different phase and the complementarity of a subset of activities covered by different phases, so that would actually help the evaluation. So I can maybe start with a simple answer, is that, of course, the more impact the proposals are actually describing into addressing the different subset of activities, so within different phases, and how complementarity they are, and answer an integrated approach as described during the presentation, well, they will increase their chance to get a higher evaluation score. That being said, there is no ranking through the activities that are described within each phase. So it's really up to the applicants actually to come up with innovative ideas and innovative ways, so to combine the different phases. Pablo, if you want to add something, please.
Yeah, as you said, I mean, it's very important. All this exercise is impact driven. So basically the proposals have to demonstrate with the selection of activities that they put in their proposals, how they are matching the impact that is in the call topic. So I think this kind of quantification, it will be crucial for the evaluators to ascertain the potential impact of the proposals. So the emphasis here is impact. How this is selected in terms of different bullet points, and I'm just looking at the next question on which goes also in this line on for each phase regarding the bullet points is up to the proposals, but always with the reflection of how much impact that can achieve.
So there was another question about the expected duration of innovation action. So I guess we answered that one. So there is no prescription or advice from the Commission on the duration. Then if we can confirm that a proposal for the innovation action has to cover the entire disaster risk management cycle, but considering one or more of the bullet points indicated. So yes, that's correct. And if we expect that there will be funded, that different proposals will be funded covering the entire disaster risk management cycle, or if the intention is to fund a single project, a single one, so a single proposal to this extent. So no, we expect actually to fund, well, depending on the budget requested by the different application, but since for the innovation action, the overall budget is 72 million, and the size of the project should be between 15 and 20 million. So we expect maybe three to four innovation actions to be funded. Then there was also a question on the Pablo, maybe that one should be for you, on the this Green Deal call topics. So looks very similar to the Secure Society program, in particular, so the DRS2 on technologies for first responders.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, I'm glad that the question is raised, because we were considering these potential issues when preparing the call, and so we cross-checked with the responsibles of those calls. And what turns out is that, okay, first responder is a very, very broad area, and what they are dealing with in this call, and what they are also getting as proposed, is not specific to the wildfires. And when you have first respondent equipment or first respondent garment, for instance, it's very different depending on the disaster. So what we are aiming here, of course, is tailor to the conditions of wildfires, in particular extreme wildfires, which is these are conditions that are quite different to other type of disasters where other first responders are active. So it's important to be tailored to the needs, and we cross-check, and the colleagues in charge tell us that the scope was that there was such a difference in the scope, and that's why we include it here. Thank you.
Also for you, Pablo, a related question on the fire response and the site. So Felipe is asking if there is a minimum number of end users in terms of firemen, fire brigades, or first responders entities that should be involved in the proposals.
Yeah, I would reply in two ways. I would say at least, of course, the necessary to comply with the activities that are pursued in terms of technical needs, but also we should reflect, since we want to also to disseminate and to have a larger uptake. So from that point of view, the more you have, also the more possibilities that different end users will adopt the solutions from the project. So of course, this has to be balanced with the overall resources and the overall activities in the project. But we are not prescribing a number. This is up to the proposals to ascertain, considering their needs and their resources.
And so there was also another question, but I'm looking at the time, and so I think we will take maybe two other questions. Maybe if Christophe or Thomas, so you would like to take this one on, so from David Smith, and could you let us know the reason why all Green Deal call topics are only one stage as opposed to two stage from Horizon 2020? So is this to reduce the number of proposals received, or maybe other reasons?
No, I guess it was a political decision to have an impact as soon as possible. So, and to be able to support proposals rapidly. So after 8 months, and because a two-stage proposal would take longer to be implemented. So I guess that would be the main point.
Yeah, no, fully agree with this. And also another question from Giovanna. So how will you avoid the overlapping between this topic and the cascade smaller project under 1.2? So I guess she's referring to the cascade funding of the project under the climate resilient cities topic.
So it's a bit, I would say, tricky, because in our case, each proposal will be evaluated as it is. So, so again, the award criteria, and then if there is a need for clustering or for working together, then it can be addressed inside the proposal.
Yes, exactly. I think we partially answered this one already by saying that in the work implementation plan, there should be the resources already. They should foresee the activities. And then as agency, as we do it anyway, as commission, we cluster the projects and help facilitate the collaboration. So you do your part, we do ours later, and everything will be fine.
In addition, the scope of 1.2 is more on the cities themselves, on energy, transport. It's not much related to wildfires. So from a content point of view, we don't envisage a priori overlaps with activities in such topic.
And still, since we are on this single stage versus two-stage evaluation, Michalis is asking about or maybe it's making a comment on since the money comes from Horizon 2020, the proposal have to be signed before end of the year 2021. So it's also a legal budgetary constraint for the single stage.
Maybe I can complement on an additional reason why single stage is favored in this kind of projects. When it's about large projects, large demonstration projects, normally by its nature, the number of proposals is not so high as when dealing with small projects. So the main reason of having two stages is when the numbers are very high of proposals. In this case, because of the large nature, the numbers of proposals expected will be not so high as in the small project. So that's also another reason.
All right, thanks, Pablo. I'd like to thank also Christophe for answering this Q&A session. Of course, you will have access actually to the FAQ on the Horizon 2020 portal in case you have additional question related to this topic. Also, this topic will be also presented in other related events, so stay tuned also for this. And I see that we are just 3 minutes behind the schedule. So let's have just a short 10-minute break, and we will resume so at 10 to 5 for the presentation of the second topic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, hello again. So for this second part of the session, of the presentation of the two topics in Area 1, so I have invited Nelly Andrade, my colleague from DG Research Innovation, to join us as she will present the topic 1.3 on climate resilient innovation packages, so for EU region. This presentation will be also followed by a question and answer session together with Thomas and Sasa from the executive agency. So please, Onelika, floor is yours. Enjoy.
Thank you, Nicola. Hello, everyone. Welcome. And I'm here, as Nicola mentioned, to present the topic 1.3, climate resilient innovation packages for EU regions. Okay, so I don't think I need to remind you of the gravity of what we have in front of us when it comes to climate change. The world is on a trajectory to get warmer and warmer. And we know that despite our best mitigation efforts, there's always going to be a certain need to adapt and to be resilient. And we know that radical and transformative adaptation is urgently needed to reduce climate vulnerabilities and to build resilience. The Green Deal already puts it in its goals that we're going to have a new and more ambitious EU strategy on adaptation to climate change. So this topic goes well with this ambition of the Green Deal. And what we want to do with this topic is stimulate major innovations in key community systems that are central for the resilience of communities and regions. And we want this topic, well, the projects coming out of this topic, to serve as early facilitators for the 4 missions. For the one, mainly for the one on adaptation, but also the one on oceans, cities, and soils. So the specific objectives of this topic: 1, we want to scale up and demonstrate a large-scale systemic solutions for regional adaptation to trigger behavioral change and new ways of decision-making. And 2, we want to develop efficient adaptation pathways tailored to support the most vulnerable regions and communities. So this topic is divided into 2 subtopics. So just here to show you a bit of the approach we're taking to this topic, we have subtopic 1, which is focuses on the development of innovation packages for transformational adaptation. So topic 1 will look into first choosing regional partners. And these regional partners, we hope that the regional partners chosen are those regions and communities that are most exposed and have the least adaptive capacity. So their capacity to adapt is quite limited. 2, we want the projects to create transformative pathways. So to look into ways on how to increase resilience in the certain region or community. And third, once we look into this journey of how to increase resilience, is looking into how do we do that, through which innovations, and to orchestrate all these innovations and demonstrate these innovations. Because usually in the past, we've seen that we tend to tackle adaptation in a way where we have a problem and we create a solution. So we have sea level rise, we have dikes, and it's problem solution. And we lack the overall and holistic approach. And this is why before jumping into having a demonstrator, into having an innovation, we want to develop these transformative pathways to fully grasp the situation in the community or in the region, to understand the social aspects and economic aspects that could influence the solution, that could perhaps mean that a certain solution might work better than another one in the certain region. Then we have topic 2, which will look into citizen engagement, monitoring, and testing of innovation packages. So our expectation is that subtopic 1 and subtopic 2 are going to be really intertwined and working together throughout the duration of the project. So our expectation is that we have subtopic 1 looking into the pathways and the innovations, and we have subtopic 2 that starts making sense of everything that is happening in subtopic 1. that engages with the citizens in the communities and regions, and it develops indicators to monitor and testing the innovation packages being developed by subtopic 1. And I must highlight that proposals should only address one of the topics, not both. Okay, so a bit more detail in subtopic 1. So the innovation packages for transformational adaptation. So it should propose and implement multi-scale and multi-sectoral regional adaptation pathways, as I mentioned before. It focuses on implementing and testing innovation in key systems, and we consider these key systems to be health, agriculture, water, environment, including biodiversity, and infrastructure, which also includes energy. And it will depend on the region which of these systems will need the most urgent care or action into it. So this will depend on the applicants and on the region that the project is looking to work with. And it should integrate systemic risk analysis and management, considering multi-hazards and cascading effects, as well as interdependencies between key systems. So this goes a bit with what I was explaining before, that we want to go beyond, there's a problem on health and we only look at the solution on health. We need to look at the rest of factors that are around it and have a systemic view of what might be needed in the region and what are actually the different hazards, because it might mean that health is a system that is very vulnerable, but agriculture is closely tied to this. So we need to look at both systems and we need to have solutions that are able to integrate and to resolve the situation for both systems. As I mentioned before, the target regions should be those with the highest exposure and or the least adaptive capacity. And we expect the applicants to be taking stock of existing group practices and solutions. I think, as you know, the Green Deal call looks to actually accelerate and demonstrate and to quickly have solutions that are mature enough and that can actually be demonstrated, and then society can quickly benefit from it. So this is why we're trying to focus on, let's look at what is out there, what is being done well, and that maybe needs to be scaled up a little bit more or needs to be fine-tuned. So we expect proposals to look into previous Horizon 2020 projects, to look into the EIT KICS projects and companies funded by the KICS, the Life Plus program, as well as the structural funds programs, and the European Investment Bank, the European Bank for Regional Development, and the other wide variety of funding schemes and programs at European level or at national level. And we would like the applicant to make use of operational climate services. As mentioned in the previous topic, we also expect the applicants to look and make use of Copernicus climate change services and Copernicus emergency management services and other of the services offered by Copernicus. And we know these are free and they're available to public institutions and key sectors. And we expect a contribution between 10 to 15 million per actions in this subtopic. The second subtopic is a coordination and support action. And as I said, this is the glue that comes in with the subtopic 1 to make sure that there's different elements that are coming together and there's monitoring and testing. So as it's explained, this coordination support action will ensure the demonstration of innovative and integrated approaches fulfills the expected impacts by coordinating and supporting the innovation action projects funded under this topic. So it will focus on citizen and regions engagement. So it's not only the citizens, but also the stakeholders within the region to bring them in and make them participants of this project. It will look into the monitoring and assessment of the innovation packages to identify cases of maladaptation at regional level, or to flag cases where certain solutions might pose a risk and become maladaptations. And it will also look into enabling replicability. So looking at regions that might have the same vulnerabilities the same exposure where the certain solution could be utilized. And it will help Topic 1 to support the portfolio of solutions to an in-depth diagnosis and a prioritization of actions. And it will also develop a free access online platform with user-friendly information on innovation packages. So we'll bring all the knowledge and all the different innovations that are happening to Topic 1. It will bring it together in this platform. And it could well be that it creates a new platform, or it could make use of already existing platforms. For example, Climate Adapt is one of them. So this will be part of the development of the project, and it should be a discussion as well between the projects in Topic 1 and Topic 2. And the contribution that we expect for this topic is around 3 million. So the overall expected impacts for this topic, we expect it to accelerate the economic restart from the COVID-19 crisis. So we want them to restart and to create resilience in regions and communities, and also to help, because our view is that if we're able to increase and help regions become more climate resilient, we're also helping them to also become resilient to other shocks and crises. And we want to foster transformative change to increase, of course, the resilience of the region. We want to support the European Green Deal targets, of course, and in particular, as I mentioned at the beginning, the new EU strategy on adaptation to climate change, the EU biodiversity, bioeconomy, and circular economy strategies as well. When it comes to impacts for Topic 1, we want a massive increase of community resilience and capacities to cope with unavoidable effects of climate change. And performance indicators should include, for instance, a reduction of the climate protection gap, increasing green investments. So we want to have in the region, in the target region, a whole generation of investments, of solutions, of business models that are geared towards climate resilience, or that have part of their analysis when it comes to businesses, for example, includes climate resilience and includes making sure that the whole community as a whole becomes more resilient. When it comes to Topic 2, we're looking to improving knowledge access to adaptation, adaptation solutions through synergies and or integration of the online platform. So as we said, we want Topic 2 to bring together all the good knowledge that is produced in Topic 1 and make it available, and also be able to analyze it and piece it in a digestible way for others to take over. And as I said, this topic will be a precursor for the Green Deal missions, in particular the adaptation mission. And here's a tentative, and emphasis on tentative, timeline. So you can see how this Green Deal topic and the mission area on adaptation to climate change will start developing together, and how this topic could influence the development of the mission. So actually yesterday, the mission board, so the group of experts that have been brainstorming and discussing what the mission should focus on, formally presented their proposal for the mission to the Commission. So that happened yesterday. And this proposal will be analyzed by the Commission, and it will be formally adopted in December 2020, so December of this year. And then next year, at the beginning of the next year, we expect to have the new EU adaptation strategy. So we're going to start having the basis of, or the political basis when it comes for EU adaptation. And then at the end of next year, and as we were discussing with the previous topic, we will have the project selected, and we have an expectation of at least have some of the projects start for this topic by the end of next year. And then also around the same time, we will have the first work program on missions and setting up the governance structures. And the setup of the governance structures could well be helped by what we see in the applications for this topic, the kind of members of the consortia that are coming up in this topic could help us see what are the institutions and the organizations that tend to be involved and that are active when it comes to community and regional resilience. Around 2021 and 2022, we will start taking the first steps to set up the mission. And one of the first steps will be identifying the partner regions, because the mission on adaptation to climate change has a big focus on working with regions and communities, just like this topic. And the first step for the mission will be identifying those regions and communities that are going to be partners in the mission. And this topic, which will be underway and the projects will be starting to work, will help us already to see what regions and communities are those that are most vulnerable and that are already working on this. And some of the regions and communities within this topic could be those that are then used for the mission. And lastly, I think this timeline is fairly short. I just got till 2023. By 2023, we expect some first results from projects on this topic, and this will start feeding into the mission implementation, because the mission itself will have a work program. So I think as we have results from this topic coming out, it will start feeding directly into how we continue designing the implementation of the mission. And of course, and I think many of you have noticed, there's a variety of topics, of Green Deal topics, that cannot relate to each other or have similar topics. So already the topic that my colleagues Pablo and Nicola presented before, the one on preventing and fighting extreme wildfires. I think wildfires are a big issue in Europe and have affected many regions in Europe. And this could be something that perhaps some of the regions that we have coming up have wildfires as one of the hazards, perhaps. Or it's also about working together and having those working in this topic, looking to see what we are developing this topic. We also have a topic on demonstration of systemic solutions for the territorial deployment of circular economy. And circular economy is one of those strategies that tend to increase the resilience of a community. We also have topics on biodiversity that are going to be very relevant and are worth maybe clustering with. And we're also looking into, of course, you cannot tackle climate adaptation without looking into climate mitigation. So we will also have to keep a close eye, or the projects in this topic will have to keep a close eye on those topics focusing on climate mitigation. And lastly, and it's worth keeping in mind this as well, within the same area, topic 1.2, which is towards climate neutral and socially innovative cities, it is also a precursor of one of the missions. So this topic 1.3 and 1.2 are precursors of missions and should be clustered together just as to see how they develop and how the influence into the mission works, and to develop synergies across these two. Right, and then as I mentioned before, it is worth keeping in mind that we want to build on good practices and existing solutions. And this is just a bit of a flavor of, we recommend that you look at the outcomes of finished or ongoing projects on climate services. And I'm not going to go through all of them, but you'll get the slides and you'll be able to Google and search each one of these projects, as well as nature-based solutions projects and life projects. And I'm sure there are many others, but this is just to give you a flavor of the body of good practice that we can exploit and develop further for this topic. Okay, and I think I've reached the end of the presentation. Thank you for your attention. And we'll move to the questions and answers. And Nicola is back. I think you're muted, Nicola. Nicola, you're muted. Yeah, you're muted.
All right. No, I just wanted to thank you for the presentation and also for being right on time. So we received lots of questions on the Q&A box. So also in the chat. So please write your question in the Q&A so we can actually moderate them better. And you can also vote for the question you want to be addressed first. Maybe we can start with some of the questions related to the proposal. So there were questions actually. So I'll take the last one. So should proposal under both subtopics be related to each other in terms of the location? So for the target region or the target audience. So Thomas or Nelika.
Sure. In this case, and I'll let Thomas complement here, because I know we're asking you to do separate applications, and if you apply from one, you can apply to the other one. We spec subtopic 1 to have a region targeted already, and subtopic 2, you could consider certain regions that you like to explore, but as long as you keep it flexible, or as long as you keep your application flexible, that should be good enough for us to be able to pair you, because as you saw, and it's in the proposal text, it is topic 1 that will focus on the region, and then subtopic 2 comes in to try to coordinate and do the monitoring.
There was also a question, so the regions that are not so vulnerable to the impacts of climate change, or that are a little bit ahead in their adaptation pathways, so have room to participate in this topic as well, or if the topic actually is only for, let's say that for regions that are not ahead of the curve. If the answer is yes, if they can participate, so how can they participate?
I think the text and the topic text says it quite clearly. It needs to be regions that are exposed or have a limited adaptation capacity, because sometimes it's not necessarily the exposure, it's the limited adaptation capacity, and it could be the lack of resources, but it needs to have one or the other in this case.
And a question more related, maybe for colleagues in the agency, so related to if additional budget will be available, so to facilitate the clustering with other Green Deal coal projects. Thomas or Sasa, do you want to take this one?
Well, that's an interesting question. Well, there isn't any foreseen budget for that scope. It has to be a call. Now, the only thing that can happen, of course, is that there are some budget remnants from different budget lines that they haven't been covered by a proposal, and they can be redistributed to different to other proposals suggested for funding, but and of course passing the thresholds. However, there isn't a budget for that. There are other instruments in Horizon 2020 that they support the clustering, of course, but not through this call specifically.
Thanks, Thomas. If Sasa doesn't want to add anything, so we'll move to the next question. So from Daniel. So if there is an estimate on how many projects will be funded in these topics, so I guess, so given the for the CSA, there might be only one proposal awarded, and for the innovation action, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I guess this will be 2 to 3 proposals that might be awarded. Another question, so in subtopic 1, so for the innovation action, so do you foresee innovation actions to be actually implemented in demonstration sites, or to extract lessons learned from existing already implemented innovation used as models? So I guess this is also related to the TRL level. So if you want to, Nelika, give it a spin.
I think we actually want a demonstrator coming out of this. This is the objective of the innovation action. You want a solid demonstration here, and of course the lessons learned are really valid, and it could be a case where you're just replicating a demonstrator, but we want to have an actual product there rather than just lessons learned.
Yes, if I may add exactly on Elka, that's the scope. We are in an innovation action. It should be already at high readiness level. We don't want to call it technology readiness level because it's not. It doesn't refer to technology. But read carefully the topic text. It says test, make, use. It's not just about making another study, another report, setting another deliverable in. This is an innovation action to kick off Green Deal to contribute to the missions. It's not about writing another report or making another desk study. So please read carefully the topic text, and you will see words with quite a high impact there, including implementation, integration, making use. So be attentive to them.
There were some questions. So before I take some others more related to the content, specific content of the topic. So also this one is a more general one. So how do we define actually the region size? If the focus shall be on one region or few regions, and so how do you want to, Anelika, to answer this one, or should I?
Sure. On the definition of region, we're leaving it up to the applicant to define, because it could be a territorial region, but it could be a smaller, it could be across borders. We don't want to limit this, especially when it comes to climate impact. Sometimes regions or the regions affected don't follow the territorial lines per se, or the borders between countries. So we're leaving this open up to the applicant.
And another question more related to the funding. So if there is any expectation of funding from the partners so involved in the subtopic 1, so the innovation action. So I'll let Sasa and Thomas answer that one.
Okay, if I can answer this, it's up to the consortium to decide where they will draw funding from. It's not per se a requirement within this call.
I think that we want to underline always is that this is a Horizon 2020 call. Everything that you know remains exactly the same. So funding rates, evaluation criteria, processes, everything will remain the same. And the same for the grant agreements that they will be signed. Having said that, because we are talking about innovation actions, of course, apart from the funding rates that in some cases they are 70%, so the consortium has to contribute already to the budget because they cannot claim 100% funding. It is important to show also some engagement. So if you can also leverage some private funding or even some public funding, well, it will further support the action. You are going to have a bigger, more impactful project.
Now we have several questions from Michaelis, so I'll try maybe to summarize them. He's asking us on since the success of the coordinated and support action relies actually on the innovation action, so willingness to work with them. So how we are expecting to ensure these facilitation aspects, and if the CSA should conclude a collaboration agreement with them, so how would this work into practice? And also, should the CSA plan, for example, in its description of work, so to start later than the innovation action? So if Thomas or Nelika want to take that, otherwise I can give it a shot.
Thomas.
Okay, I can start. Practically speaking, we can we can discuss during the grant agreement preparation for the selected proposals to discuss when is the best time to start. But again, there is not a requirement to already know each other, because I have seen this question coming very often in the chat, to have common partners or not. No, these are completely different projects that they have overlapping elements, and they should foresee it in their implementation when they write the proposal. And then when the time comes in the grant agreement preparation, we're going to bring them together. Practical issues, as they happen with every selected proposal, we are going to resolve them during the implementation and the monitoring of the action, as we do in the European Commission.
And another question from Michalis was also related to the definition of regions. So in this topic, so since maybe the mission seems to have a slightly different definition, or using regions so for different things. So it's also related to the previous question. So then the answer would be there are different type of, let's say, criteria to select the region, whether administrative ones to take, depending on the impacts this innovation action so want to have, or the different actors that need to be involved. So they might either choose, for example, or select an administrative, let's say, filter, or they will choose a, let's say, more biogeographical filter, because they will be looking more at addressing the impacts from different climate-related hazards. So I guess this is not for the Commission to be prescriptive and put a definition there, but rather to the applicants to actually come up with a plan or with actually a screening of the different hazards that they want to address. I don't know if Annalika or Thomas or Sasa, you want to add on this one?
No, I think you covered it well. I think it depends on what lens, and we try to leave it open.
Okay, and so Guido is asking us, given the interaction so between the different subtopics, so how important is the flexibility regarding indicators, so beyond regional aspects, I guess. I'm not sure I understand this question. Is there a way you could clarify maybe in the chat, Guido? Thanks. And then I'm looking if we received other question for the Q&A. Yes, from Chiara. So is it required to involve more types of climate sensitive environments, so mountain, coastal, lowlands, in one proposals for the subtopic 1, or is it required to focus on one type of environments?
I think this will depend on the region you have as a target. And I think it's important that you don't isolate one versus the other, because it could happen that it's a region that it's a coastal region, but it has a mountain environment as well. So I wouldn't recommend isolating one versus the other, either really close together, because the whole approach of the topic is a systemic approach of trying to look at the whole system. So I think the looking at the environment will depend on what kind of region you're working with. And it could happen that, as Nicola said, that you could look at more of by the various kind of way of dividing the region. So maybe you just focus on the mountain part. That could be a valid point. I think this is why we have left this very open to not be prescriptive, and let the applicants make the case as to why a certain region is a good candidate.
And so also question from Efren. So how many demonstrative regions so do you expect in each project? of subtopic 1. Again, I know that you are all asking us for very specific numbers of region or their characteristic, but we cannot, unfortunately, let's say, be prescriptive in that. I think the best way, and I think the same applies to the question I see related to the metrics or performance indicators. I guess it's good also like to take stock of the projects actually that have already developed or have already demonstrated adaptation pathways, how they're working, how they different innovation for better planning in adaptation. So to actually take stock of this project, to actually follow and capitalize on that to develop the proposals. So we won't actually ourselves recommend a certain method, but it's good that, especially if you have experience in previous projects, that you actually looked at what is feasible given the time frame of the project, but also that you that you think that this action, all innovation actions, so will also be facilitated by the coordinate and support actions. So that you don't need like to achieve all the impact possible. That should be a concerted also approach with the others. So that's why it's in order like not to put pressure too much on you when writing your proposal.
If I may add, Nicola,
yeah,
actually, this is not how the evaluation is also done in practical terms. We don't put the proposals together and we say one had 4 demonstrations, the other has 3. This is the one who wins. Not at all. It needs thorough justification. It needs a methodology to present why the selected regions, why it will have the highest impact, how it will be implemented, etc., etc. So going through all the parts of the proposal, certainly it's not a number that we are expecting and we say this is the winner clearly. No, we go through the evaluation criteria one by one and assess which proposal can achieve the highest impacts. I think there was also a question that probably Onelika and maybe myself can answer also about a requirement of the topic 1.3, stimulate wide citizen and stakeholder engagement and ensure ownership of the solutions throughout co-creation process. And the question was if the 70% funding with the ownership of the solutions, well, if companies are involved, how this can be ensured. So if Onelika, I have a quick answer to this probably. What the topic refers to is mostly ownership from the stakeholders, meaning that they participate in the process and they are ready to develop and roll out the results and demonstrate it on the way in practice. So it's not about exploiting the results. I think this is where the potential misunderstanding is.
Yes, indeed, Thomas. I think at the stage of the project itself is just creating this ownership at all levels, and it's creating the ownership within the citizens and ensuring that this is whatever solution or demonstrator it's put in place is something acceptable to the citizens or is accepted by the society, but also the local authorities and all the other players in the region take part of it, and it doesn't need to be exploitation or investments per se or private companies coming with a bag of money. I mean, that could be a nice thing to have, but it's more of the whole ownership of the region, because we don't want that at the end of this or at the end of the project, the innovation just stays in one place. It was a nice demonstrator, but it's never used if there's no real ownership by the region.
I'm looking at the time and I see it's actually 5:30. I know there are maybe some questions that remained unanswered or partly answered. So we'll do our best actually to address them through the FAQ on the participant portal. So that's that will be done. So as as the answers are provided to us. And I just wanted to remind you some of the important dates and deadlines so related to this Green Deal call. So the deadline for the submission of proposal is the 26th of January. Then there will be evaluation, so it's single stage in March, April 21. So the results should be made available to you through May and June, and then the projects are actually expected to start and to kick off in fall 2021. Is it correct? Yes. So thank you all for attending this session. I would also like to thank all the speakers, Pablo, Angelica, as well as our colleagues from the agencies, so for addressing all these questions, Thomas, Sasa, and Christophe. So thanks a lot for having prepared this session. Everything ran rather smoothly, given the certainty we knew from the start. So very pleased also to have been moderating this session. Wish you all a very nice end of afternoon, and wish you also all the best when preparing this proposal. Maybe some last word from colleagues.
Nothing else. Just thank you for staying tuned, and we look forward to, well, my colleagues asked me, I look forward to receiving the application. Later on, I look forward to seeing the projects. And
I would say good luck, but you don't need luck. You need a good proposal, so hands-on preparation.
All right.
Indeed. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.